So in this video we're going to take a little look at the plants that I keep in my house and what I'm going to do to try and revive them. Hello, my name's Suzanne and I garden and grow cut flowers in Devon in the UK, and although that's what I spend the majority of my time doing, I do also like to have some plants in my house, which is especially important now as we go into the autumn. The days start to get shorter. It's just nice to have a bit of something green in our indoor spaces. I'm in my very damp, not very nice studio. It always happens at this time of year. It's time for me really to pack everything up now and leave the studio more or less empty. The only thing I'll be doing out here now is making my Christmas wreaths. All my dried flower things I have to make in my house because it's just far too damp out here. Anyway, this week's video. So I started filming this video weeks and weeks and weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around now to editing it. Back in September, I finally made time to try and revive my very, very neglected houseplants. I use the term houseplants very loosely because some of the plants that I keep in my house are actually plants that you can keep in your garden and actually are quite useful for cutting as well. But I keep these particular plants in my house as house plants. These plants really were looking sorry for themselves, and it was long overdue for them to have a little bit of attention. Some of them were in fact so neglected that honestly the only way really to continue the plant was to propagate new plants from the original plant. The original plants really were very, very tired and a bit fed up with being looked after by me. As you know, I spend the majority of my time between my cottage garden and my cut flower patch, which is why the plants in the house perhaps are a bit of an oversight. But as the year draws on now, it's quite important for me to have some plants in the house. Hence the reason I thought I'd better perk them up a little bit. I'm filming this video at the beginning of September, I don't know, the 6th or 7th, something like that. So let's take a look at what plants I've been killing and if I can save them and how. So I'm going to put up on the screen what this plant is because I was given this by my nan and I don't actually know what it is. But you can see that this plant is clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants now. Now when I was given it 3 or 4 years ago, it was only 1 plant, but that one definitely needs to be divided into 5 different plants now. My poor spider plants, there was one that's had some babies, but I don't know if the babies have dried out too much to use. Was it this one? Oh, see, this is a baby spider plant. They send out these runners. Now that one probably will still be okay, so that can be a new plant. And the poor pelargoniums. I mean, look at the state of this. But I will make from this, I will make 1, 2 and 3, maybe 4 tiny baby pelargoniums from this by taking cuttings. And pelargoniums are so easy from cuttings. They are one of the easiest things. Now these are just the normal pelargoniums, but I do also have scented pelargoniums. And again, from this I will make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6 plants I will make from this one. I mean, if you haven't had scented pelargoniums before, they are so fragrant. This one is sweet mimosa, and honestly, it's not the flowers that have the beautiful fragrance, it's actually the foliage, so you can benefit from it all year. And this is also great as a cut foliage, and I probably will overwinter some of these cuttings to go in the polytunnel next season for using in bouquets. Some peat-free compost that is left indoors for a period of time goes so dry that it actually loses its ability to take up water. So this compost, once it's become like this, is okay as a mulch or for top dressing pots, but it's not a great idea to actually plant your plants into it, because you'll find that it cannot hold onto the moisture at all, and the water will just run straight through it. So I've got a new bag of compost here which has been kept outside, and you can just see the difference. So that has moisture retention and will be suitable for potting on. And you just see this is just like the desert. So this is much better. And then I also have just a grip which I tend to dress the tops of my houseplant pots with, to stop them drying out and because they're in the house, so it looks a bit better aesthetically. So let's take a look at one of these scented pelargoniums first. And I think it might also be a good idea to have some labels at the ready. Now you don't want to use pots that are too large. And ordinarily with cuttings, I use a square pot and I put the cuttings in each corner. But for my pelargoniums, they're so easy from cuttings, I really don't think you need to do that. And I've got my trusty wooden spoon here that I'm going to make a nice hole to pop my cutting into. Right, let's have a look at the plant and see where we're going to go first. Here we are. So if you look on your stem, you can see there would have been leaves here, here and here if they hadn't have died. So I'm going to cut exactly below one of those points. You need very sharp scissors or a knife to do this. A knife is probably better, and I probably will go on to use my knife. And then you want to take off a lot. I mean, do you know what? There probably is another little pelargonium there. No, it's all right. We'll just do it as one. I won't be greedy. So yeah, that probably could have been another one. But anyway, this is going to be what we're going to go with. But I am just going to take off this big leaf and half of these top leaves. So that's my sweet mimosa. And I'm going to pop him in. And I'm going to put a dressing on the top of the pot. But I'm not going to use my grip yet, because this one is probably obviously not big enough to be in his final home. So I'm going to use some of this really dry compost as my top dressing. There we are. So that's our first cutting done. You can use rooting powder for lots of cuttings, but honestly, if you haven't done pelargoniums before, they are so easy, you really don't need to. If you're new to gardening and taking cuttings, they're a really good one to start with, because you really can make so many. If you went out and got yourself one pelargonium now, in fact, all of these plants were made from one original plant. It's a really good way, and it's a really good way of, if you know, sharing plants with other people. You can take a cutting if you see one they've got in a different colour, and they get to keep their plant, but you get to make an exact copy, which of course with seed you don't always know that you're going to get an exact copy. There, ready to go back in the house, along with all of her children. So what do we get? So we had one, and now we've got the original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Now we've got 7. They all need watering, but I'll do that when I've finished doing the whole project, because I'll water everything all in one go. Okay, now we'll take a look at the clivia miniata. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this is just going to be a case of division for this one, and then finding some more suitable sized pots. So, see, this one's got a much better root system. Let me find my knife. Okay, so let's take a look. How are we going to do this? Gosh, I might need my hori knife. I need a sawing action. So if you haven't already seen this tool, this is my hori knife. I have 3. You can never have too many of these. You'll never use a trowel ever again. And the reason I've gone to get this is because although this knife is very sharp and it's regularly sharpened, I wanted the serrated edge to help saw. Oh, now I don't know if that will take with no roots now. That might be a complete disaster. So this hasn't gone particularly well. I've never divided one of these before, but I have actually got these tiny bits of root on these. So actually, I think they might work. So I'm taking a different option now. I'm going to try and pull them apart instead. Oh, I should name this video "How to Butcher Your Houseplants." Okay, oh, that's a bit better. That was a combination of pulling and sawing. Okay, right. And then this one can go in a nice new pot in the middle. We're gonna lose a lot of this dry soil, and to be honest, we might lose some of this root as well, and find it a nice new pot. Give it a bit of a tidy up. Okay, let's see what pots I've got that you might fit in. I mean, you could maybe go back in your original home, actually. I do wonder how you fit it in there. Yeah, I'm going to use the same pot for this one and put this original plant back in the window it was in. And this one, incidentally, is in a north-facing window. And it does flower and fruit every year. So, obviously, it's happy to be north-facing. Okay. I'm just going to lose a few of these leaves just to give it a good chance. Should be that right. change of pan. I'm going to put the plant in and then add the compost around it. Now, the only problem I have is I only have one north-facing window, and there's not really room for any more plants, so I've got to work out what I'm going to do with these ones. Right, now I'm fairly confident that one will be okay because it did have some roots. Not so confident about the ones that I snapped off in my haste. So then this is just a normal pelargonium that you buy from the garden centre, and lots of people will use these as bedding plants. They're not really my style for in the garden, but I quite like them to brighten up my home. But yeah, they're not something that I use. It's not to say there's anything wrong with having bedding plants like that. It's just in my cottage style garden, they don't really fit. Right, so just cut again, just where you can see the line with what would have been the leaf shoots coming out. And again, another mini plant. So I'm going to use really mini pots for these. And I don't need to label them because I know they're pelargoniums and I don't actually know the variety. It's better to use a smaller pot and then when they have rooted, bump them up, than to put them in something too big now. So these are teeny tiny pots. I do a lot of baking at Christmas and give people cakes at Christmas, but things like this also could make really nice little presents. Okay. Now, you know, I probably should bin that, but I'm just going to leave it in the pot and see what happens. I'm not going to put it on or anything. We're just going to leave it like that. And if it doesn't grow, I'll bin it, and if it does, well, wonderful. And then, of course, spider plants. People say you can't kill these, but you can. Oh look, I missed the little baby. So, well, yeah, there's several plants here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants here, I would say. And they need a really good tidying up. How neglected are you? This one's actually rooted in 2 places, so we only need 1 set of roots. Okay, and then we want to get rid of all of this dead growth. Okay. And I'm just going to pull the brown edges off as well. Okay, there we are. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spider plants, and I can't decide whether this stem will grow or not. I might plant it. So I'm nearly finished now. The ones I'm doing at the moment are Prince of Orange scented pelargonium, and you can see how much healthier and happier these plants looked. I mean, they looked dreadful when I showed them to you originally, but now they just look like a whole lot of healthy, happy baby plants. So they'll be watered and go into the house, and hopefully they'll all grow on. So we really are several weeks later now from the clips that I've just shown you of me trying to revive my house plants. So obviously it would be great for you to see if it worked. Did I revive the plants? Are they looking much happier and healthier? So let's go along now and see how they're doing. Well, I'm happy to report that all the plants are looking great in comparison to how they looked a few weeks ago. The clivia minatia is just about to send up a lovely fresh flower for me. And I'm sure that's much thanks to the efforts that I've had by making that pot far less overcrowded. And actually, the cuttings that I took from that, I was a bit concerned that some of them had very little of the basal plate and no roots on them at all. And I was a little bit worried that actually they wouldn't take, but they did. They all took, they all rooted, and they're all looking really, really good and doing really, really well. So hopefully they will go on to grow on, and then I'll be able to have flowers from all of those as well. The scented pelargoniums have put on lovely, healthy new growth, and actually I could probably take further cuttings again, which is tempting for me because I think I'd like to try some of the scented pelargonium foliage in my tunnel for adding into bouquets, because some of the fragrances are just lovely. I mean, I just touched this just a moment now to show you how these are looking, and the scent is still on my hands now. Much similar to some, you know, sort of soap fragrances and things you can get. Absolutely lovely. The spider plants are a much, much fresher shade of green. They'd started to go really, really pale, where I think they'd just been really, really underwatered. And they had lots of browning on the leaves as well, but now they just look much, much fresher, much healthier. Pelargoniums are all growing on nicely, and one of them has even put up a beautiful flower for me. And my Christmas cactus is also full of lovely new buds, so I'm looking forward to that when that flowers for me. I'm so glad that I made the effort to try and save my plants, especially now as I find myself spending a lot more of my time inside. Thank you again for joining me today to take a look at what houseplants I grow. Please do in the comments let me know which plants you grow in your house, whether they be houseplants or outdoor plants that you bring in, and what sort of greens do you use to brighten up your indoor space. If you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to follow my gardening and cut flower journey, then please do subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to contribute towards the making of these videos, you can follow the link in the description to buy me a coffee. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.